Right, I'm here at Imperial Kennels with 9 times champion trainer and 2 times Derby winning trainer Mark Wallis. Mark, it must have been very satisfying to win the Trainers' Championship again.
On Saturday night, it was a very, very special evening. We have had some tremendous years and moments in this kennel. The whole of last week, winning the Bresmed Northern Sprint with Cotton Pants, 2 qualifying for the Grand National on Friday at Central Park, and then finishing off with the Trainers' Championship meeting on Saturday. It was just an awesome occasion, one that everybody at the kennel is very, very proud of. It was a thoroughly enjoyable night, and our dogs in particular performed absolutely brilliantly. You know, we had a team that many people thought was a good team, but wasn't particularly drawn well, and the fact that we left our second favourite for the Derby, Bruiser's Bullet, out the team was quite testament to the strength in depth that we have in this kennel, and to overcome some of the draws and win on Saturday night. We had hundreds of supporters there, and many people have thanked me the last couple of days for making a night to remember, and particularly Ruby's Rascal, and coming home to make it where we couldn't get beat, and then to finish with Black Farron, our Irish Derby runner-up, and one of our leading lights for the Star Sports Derby, coming home to win the top division was truly amazing. A very, very good night, and you know, I thank all the supporters and all my team here at Imperial Kennels for making such a wonderful occasion for us.
So with the Derby just 2 weeks away now, that must have given you a real boost.
Yes, it was amazing to think that the Trainers' Championship meeting, which was cancelled because of the bad weather 5 or 6 weeks previously, ended up being on a night on a perfect spot just 2 weeks before the Derby started. So you had 3 divisions of the 500 metres, and I would say all 18 dogs in those 3 divisions will be Derby entries for sure. So I think maybe Gain and the sponsors would think about this Trainers' Championship meeting being in a similar slot next year, because it seems a perfect build-up to the Star Sports Derby, and you know, with our dogs running so well, that certainly gives us a lot of confidence going into the Derby, and our team was in good order there, and now we're quietly confident that we could have a good run.
Okay, Mark, thanks for that. Can you take us back, for people that don't know, so how, right to the beginning, how you first started with the dogs, how you got into the game?
Yeah, actually it's a question I don't really get asked too much, but you know, it was quite amazing really that how I've got from where I did to where I've got now, you know. And originally my only interest in the Derby when I was a toddler was when my dad used to go to the White City Derby every year. It was a big occasion for him, and my father loved Greyhound Racing. And I remember when he used to come home from the White City, I used to look at his programmes. He wrote all the results down, and we'd talk about it, and he'd say what a fantastic night it was. I mean, I never really got into it myself until I was about 20, and that's when me and my father started working together in our businesses, and we used to go to Rye House mainly, and I just first couple of times I ever went, I just got that real buzz for greyhound racing. My father brought a superb dog, one of the first ones he bought, called Another Mixture, and he was a dog that we just followed around the country. He won so many races, and we had such a good time with him that you know, I just started living for going dog greyhound racing. And the trainer Dookie Elliott, who used to train Another Mixture, we became very friendly with, and we went down to his kennels. I just really got into it. We then moved up to East Anglia, and everything changed. And after having dogs locally at Mildenhall and Swaffham and everything, we then met Linda Jones, actually through a Derby winning owner in Alan Carter. He was the one that got my father and myself introduced into Linda Jones, who just set up at these kennels here. And that was about 1998, 99, and anyway, Alan said to us, you know, you have to put a dog with Linda. She's the most ambitious trainer that I've ever seen, like, you know, and she wants to go places. And to be honest with you, we put a dog with a called Lonely Mixture, which was actually a offspring of another mixture. And from that moment on, you know, I never looked back. I brought the dog over. I stopped for a few hours that day, got chatting to Linda and her husband Doug, and within a couple of weeks I was here as much as I could, every day if I could, to get over here. And you know, it was just an amazing feeling. Just loved actually putting my hands on the dogs. You know, myself and Linda and Doug was a fantastic team, and you know, the dogs kept winning everywhere. Another Lonely Mixture won a big race at Bristol, which put really Linda on the map, and we just had a terrific time. And after a couple of years, I decided that I wanted to make this my full-time job, and you know, after having a permit licence for a couple of years, I came back to work for Linda when she had the contract at Romford, and it's just been the rise and rise of Imperial Kennels. We got bigger, we got better owners in, better dogs, and you know, one of the favourite moments of Imperial Kennels was when Honky Tonk Girl won the first ever Category 1 for the kennel in 1999, the Essex Vars at Romford. That is one of my greatest memories in the sport. And then, you know, to cut a long story a little bit shorter, I met Linda's daughter Sarah, and we've been happily married now for over 20 years, 2 beautiful children, Daniel, who now works for us, and Emily. And you know, Linda gave me the chance to take over the kennels after working for her for nearly 15 years. I haven't been assistant trainer for at least 10 years before for Linda. It was something that I did think long and hard about, because I know what it, you know, I know what training dogs and the position we was in isn't the easiest decision, but I decided to make it. We had a fabulous contract at Walthamstow. And I think over these last 13 or 14 years, you know, I'm proud to say that the kennel has progressed even further. Last Tuesday was our 68th Category 1 winner, which is truly incredible. I think it's certainly probably the all-time most Category 1s any trainer's ever won in the sport since it first started. Obviously, a lot of people are going to judge you on Derby winners and and such like, and thankfully, you know, we've had 2 Derby winners, 2 Oaks winners, 5 St Ledger winners, and you know, my next thing is I'm itching to win a Derby at Toaster, our home track, and hopefully the Star Sports Derby will be coming our way. If it's not this year, hopefully over the next few years.
If anybody knows, you must. What attributes do you need to train a Derby winner?
Yes, good question. I mean, of course, with a competition that's over 6 rounds, you do need a certain element of luck, and I think every Derby winning trainer will tell you that there's luck in certain places, that you get a dog just avoiding another one in one of the rounds, just getting up to qualify, a draw going in the right place for you at the right time. But realistically, the dogs themselves have got to have some key attributes: speed, durability, everything you need, everything that a greyhound can possess is tested in this Derby over 6 rounds. You know, especially when we get towards the last couple of weeks, where the 3 runs, the come quickly, the quarterfinals, the semi-finals. It's a nice break to the final, but those 3 rounds are what really don't just test the dogs, it tests the trainers as well. The art of recovery for a greyhound to go into the quarter final, and then, you know, even more recovery and into the semi final. It's something that some trainers have got great skill in doing, and of course we go back to Charlie Lister, who's won it 7 times, you know. We've won it twice, you know. I would dearly love to try and get somewhere near Charlie's record, but if we never won another Derby again, I'd happily take the 2 that we did, because there's hundreds of thousands of trainers out there over the sport's history that are great trainers, better than what even I am, that have not won a Derby. So you know, but the breed itself, the Greyhound, it does need everything. You know, you can't just have early pace and nothing else. You can't just have good finishing pace. You can't just have stamina. You'll get knocked out if you do. You need every attribute going that a Greyhound possesses, and then that key element of luck.
So what's been your favourite Derby memory?
Yes, well, for years, me and my father, we went to nearly every Derby at Wimbledon. Obviously my father went to the ones at the White City as well, and there was many memorable occasions. Going back to something that I said earlier, knowing Alan Carter, who of course won the Derby with Slippy Blue with Ken Linsell. My father owned a newsagent in Newmarket, and Alan Carter had a garage just around the corner, and we became great friends. And when we opened the shop up at 4:30 in the morning, which we used to on a Sunday morning, Alan Carter had come in his black tie, his suit, and parked the car, and he was waiting for me and my father to come out to come and open the shop, and he just walked in and plonked the Greyhound Derby trophy on our ice cream fridge, and said he was so proud to bring it back to show us. And what a memorable occasion that was. You know, I did actually say to myself, I am one day going to try, I'm going to have that Derby trophy myself. And I said that to my dad as a trainer, not an owner. And thankfully that has not just come true once but twice. That's one of my favourite moments of Alan Carter bringing that Slippy Blues Greyhound trophy in to see us. Probably one of the first persons who let us see it, you know. So as a trainer in my own right, you know, I go back to the days with Linda when I was assistant trainer, when we had our first Derby finalist. What an occasion that was. The dog was called Secret Crystal. He literally cost less than 4 figures, pennies he cost. And when 2 weeks before the Derby started, I said to Linda, I just watched a dog run at Romford in an A2 and he's just bolted in. I said, Linda, I think this could be our Derby dog for this year. Linda promptly entered it into the Derby, and he just performed amazing to get to the final. I paraded the dog, and that was when all 4 sides were open at Wimbledon. There must have been around 15,000 people there. The atmosphere was just electric. There was 2 big Irish hot pots in the race, and our fella Secret Crystal was a 33-1 chance. And I don't know if anybody ever can get the video or DVD of that race. I think you can see, wow, how unlucky we was. We so nearly made the bend, ended up finishing 4th, I think it was. Run a brilliant race, and that's one of my great memories with Linda, our first ever Derby finalist. We had other finalists as well. As a trainer in my own right, the Derby was always going to be the key objective. Linda was a legend in the sport. One of the only things that she didn't achieve, but I'm sure she would have done if she'd have carried on, was to win the Derby. So the first year we was lucky enough to have a great dog come into the kennel, and he was really the making of me as a trainer. In that first year, where people were questioning, who's this Mark Wallis, you know, how he used to work for Linda Jones and now he's took over. You know, I wouldn't say the first few months went that great for the kennel, if I was honest, like, yeah. And we was very much in changing mode, changing a few things. I was trying to stamp my own authority onto the kennel, and then along came a lovely dog called January Tiger. He was desperately unlucky in the semi-finals of the Derby, and so nearly made the final. What a start to my training career that would have been if he'd have made the final. Of course, he went on to win the consolation final brilliantly, and was a future Grand Prix winner at Walthamstow. He was my first Derby finalist. We had a good run with a couple more in semi-finals over the next couple of years, and then of course along came Kinda Ready. I tipped him up to all the papers previously that I thought it was the best chance we had since I took over from Linda of winning the Derby, and he had terrific puppy Derby form, and I thought he was the kind of young dog. He was one of the youngest in the Derby that could go a long way. He had that attribute of he stayed strong, he had loads of natural speed, and he just looked a winner, and when he did get in the Derby final, you know, it was such a glorious race and such a great feeling. He came from behind Charlie Lister's good dog, and you know, it's one of the best races that you're likely to see. Nobody thought that Charlie Lister's dog was going to get beat, but Kinda Ready just come with a strong run, picked it up on the line. I was actually standing about 20-30 yards beyond the line on the first bend, and it was packed on there. It's the spot I love standing to watch all these Derby finals, and myself and my assistant Patrick Janssens were standing together, and I didn't think he'd got up originally. Like, you know, I thought, how could a 33-to-1 shot possibly get up to beat the favourite? But everybody around me was going, Five's got up, and I'm thinking, wow, that's our dog, we've won the Derby, you know.
And he moves up in the second, then comes 6 White Thorn. After these comes 3 Final Reason. It's Fears of Bonnick. Some 4 lengths clear into the third bend. Kinda Ready staying on. After these comes White Thorn. They come round the final bend. It's Charlie Lister and Fears of Bonnick with a length lead. Kinda Ready's closing. Kinda Ready got there.
And the scenes afterwards were truly amazing, you know. Without a doubt, the best feeling that I've ever had in my greyhound training life, and you know, it was a feeling that I thought, you know, hopefully it's happened once. Would it ever happen again? There was a lot of people saying that we was a lucky winner, that it was a fluke winner. Mark Wallis is just a trainer who's here for a couple of years. He'll be gone in a couple of years' time, and nobody will remember him, you know. And now we're nearly 10 years on. We've added many more trainers' titles and Group 1 victories. I'm proud of our achievements. I know sometimes people, you know, like to knock people who are successful, and that's up to them, like, you know, but our work ethic here is tremendous. Like, you know, I always surround myself with good staff, good owners, and you know, my ambition, my passion for this game will never change. We had so much satisfaction winning the 2012 Derby with Blonde Snapper. Again, a dog that had a tremendous puppy career, blessed with that early speed. He was a definite Wimbledon type dog. He'd won a Golden Sprint the month before. Again, we love bucking trends and things, and no Golden Sprint winner had ever gone on to win a Derby, and people had sort of said his form wasn't good enough, you know, but the fact of the matter was he was 8-to-1 favourite the year before to win the Derby, and he got knocked out the first round. He then broke his wrist, and to come back from a broken wrist to then win a Golden Sprint and then go on to win a Derby, and it is one of perhaps my best training feats, I would say, you know, because it was such hard work trying to nurse this dog through every round. 6 tough rounds of a Derby. You wouldn't have thought a dog with a dodgy wrist could possibly win a Derby, but he thrived through that competition, and as I said, that was the most satisfying moment. No longer was I just a one fluke winning Derby trainer, I was a dual Derby winning trainer.
Blonde Snapper on the outside now goes on with Philo Ivan in second as they head down the far side. Blonde Snapper taken on by Philo Ivan. Up gap back to Kulavani Bird. It's still Blonde Snapper with a lead of half a length over Philo Ivan. They come up the final bend. It's Blonde Snapper. Can he hold on? The answer is yes.
Some near misses also. We've had other finalists. Adagio, who was 33-1, finished last but only beaten a length and 3/4. We've had a few semi-finalists, and we've had some tremendous runs. Obviously, last year it's all changed, and Star Sports come on and basically saved the event, and Toaster did as well, obviously. And there was a lot of people thinking that a derby's not the right place at Toaster. Well, anybody was there last year for every heat, for every round of the derby, for the final. The derby has well and truly come home, and it was a fantastic occasion. 3 or 4 weeks before last year's derby, I didn't really think we had anything that could win it, and then along came Bruiser's Bullet. He was only a young dog, and he got right to the semi-final. Didn't quite happen for him in the semi-final, didn't quite get the run of a race, but proved that what a worthy and great dog he was by coming out and again winning the invitation in the fastest time of the night. So it was a memorable occasion at Toaster that night. The crowds packed in. The previous year at Wimbledon there was less than 2,000 people there. It was a sorry state of affairs, and this year well over 5,000-6,000 people there. Facilities awesome, and the whole of the derby was truly a memorable occasion. And we hope it's the same again this year.
Right, talking of this year, how many dogs are you entering, and who do you think's your best chance?
Well, this year we've actually probably less than we've had for many years. I think we seem to be particularly strong on stayers and shorter runners. We've got 8 dogs in the Regency this week, but our 4 bend dogs, we're looking at around 10 entries. Of those, we do have some quality, and 3 or 4 of those. We actually think we're probably for the first time since Blonde Snapper won the derby for us. I feel like we've maybe got our best chance. Bruiser's Bullet is at the head of the market in some books, and to me he's a worthy anti-post favourite, as they did so well last year. And I think this sport on numerous occasions has seen dogs that have done well in the derby the year before come on to do even better the next year. Moaning Lad, obviously we've had dual winners of the derby in Westmead Hawk and Rapid Ranger. I think Bruiser's Bullet is hopefully a better dog than last year. I think he was fast last year. I certainly don't think he's got any slower. His stamina, if anything, would be the key to me, because he seems to have a lot more stamina these days, and his future could well lie over 6 bends. And once you gain that stamina, you can lose a little bit in early pace and what have you. Thankfully on Saturday night he got back to showing us in a Derby trial state what great early pace he still possessed, and it was something that I thought had maybe gone a little bit this year, but it was a superb winning Derby trial state, much quicker than any of the other trial stakes, much quicker than the 3 divisions of the Trainers Championship meeting, and all of a sudden we now go into the Derby with Bruiser's Bullet firmly on our mind as our number 1 dog for us to be able to win it.
So on the run up to the Greyhound Derby, do you change the dog's training routine at all, or is it kept the same?
To be honest, we have a routine here that I try not to change at all for anything. Our general day-to-day routine won't change. There are things that I maybe adjust on the feeding side towards a greyhound. Ultimately you've got to try and peak at the end of, in the first week of June when the final is. We start at the beginning of May, and we've got 5 long weeks, and you really need that dog to peak in the final. Without giving secrets away and everything, I've got my little ideas of how to do that. But their general routine wouldn't change. I think a dog to me, dogs love routine. Greyhounds love routine. They love knowing what they're doing. you can almost tell the time by when they want to come out, when they want to have their feed, and you wouldn't change that for anything, because if you start changing that and they become unhappy, they're not going to win for you. There's only maybe the feeding side. We're very, very strong on the physio side of dogs, and myself, my physio coming in, Ron Mills, will play a big part in getting these dogs to be at in the best condition that they possibly can for every round, and hopefully that will come to a head, and they'll be spot on when it comes to the latter rounds. You can't win the Derby in the first round, so it's no good having them primed to perfection in that first round. You have to leave a little bit in hand, and that's something that I've always tried to do in not just the Derby but every competition that we've ever been in. And I think our record speaks for itself on the amount of competitions that we've won over the years. I think our strike ratio for dogs in finals and then go on to win finals is phenomenal. So hopefully that's something that can carry on.
You've already said that you think the Derby's come home now. It's at Towcester. Is there anything at all you would change about the course if you could?
Well, there's a lot of people out there who think they should change things with Towcester. I mean, I've got to be honest with you, I have no problem with it whatsoever. I think the track has lovely sweeping bends that are welfare friendly. Does it suit wide runners? I don't think there's a problem, to be honest. I think once they've run it a few times, there's a lack of wide runners in the whole industry. Every track has a problem with having wide runners. So many races have got seeds that are middle dogs that are wider than they should be, and Towcester have had that problem as well. On the open race scene, there's always more railers and middles than there is wides. I think if you've got a genuine wide runner, Towcester doesn't hold a problem for it. And I think if you actually looked at the big competitions that they've had over the last 3 years, there's many wide seats that have won the Lowther Stakes and everything else. And I see there's no bias for that. As I say, it's lovely sweeping bends. The straights are not as long as some, but they're long enough for dogs to be able to show their pace, to be able to get in position. You don't have to be a front runner. Key to me was always changing that 480 to 500. Yeah, I think a 480 metre Derby at Towcester would be an absolute disaster. Yeah, I think that extra 20 metres those faster dogs need to get to the bend is crucial, and that to me is what makes a good Derby. And I think every Derby distance should be over 500, not 480 anyway. I think that's the perfect distance to test every attribute of a greyhound.
You're attached to Towcester. Would you like to comment at all on the amount of effort they put into greyhound welfare? It's always a hot potato of the sport.
Yes, one of the key things, as many people know, was I was involved in the very early stages of Towcester before it was even built, and I had many discussions with Lord Hesketh and Kevin Ackerman, and the welfare side of Towcester was always something that really interested me, and I always loved what they had to say and what they planned on doing. And I think Towcester have reached that stage now where they've almost got a zero waiting list for the dogs to be rehomed. That's a fantastic achievement, and one the rest of the sport needs to look at and follow, because welfare is priority. It's priority in our kennel. It's priority with Towcester. The two of us are a match made in heaven on that score.
And going on to more of the business side of things, how important for the sport do you think it is that Sky Sports get back to showing the greyhound racing? Yes,
it's a question that's been on everybody's lips over the last few months since we lost it back in December. There's a lot of things I could say about it. I was very, very disappointed with all our sport, particularly the GBGB. It's so crucial to have Sky Sports, because we must have an avenue to reach to a wider audience, and Sky Sports has always done that. greyhound racing will just become a niche sport if it's allowed to go without any major television coverage. And Sky Sports, as we know, covered it very well. Dave Lawrence, obviously, is an owner of ours, in with Black Farron, who's a leading fancy of the Derby, was one of the producers at the time, and the programme was quality. You know, it reaches out to that casual viewer, those people who don't go greyhound racing all that much. The amount of friends I have who come up to me and say, "Oh, I haven't seen you on Sky Sports for a little while." You know, no, because it's not on at the moment. You know, it may not be the most beneficial thing to the bookmakers. You know, a lot of good dogs obviously have better quality racing on there, and you know, the better quality racing, the form works out a bit better, so maybe their margins aren't quite as good as it should be. But you know, we should have forgotten about all that and said we must keep this coverage up. And I think more of an effort could be made on through every part of our industry should be made to make our sport have this television coverage. It's so important, and hopefully you know, things are in the pipeline for it to come back, and I think it'd be an opportunity wasted if we don't get it back.
We've got a question from the traders here at the Star Sports office. If you could train any other dog that's not yours to train, which one would it be for the Derby?
Oh, that's a good question. I should have thought about that one. I think it's one of those things, you know, quite often the Derby betting is what it is, you know, a few weeks before, but it certainly changes, especially the weeks leading up to the Derby and after the first or second round. Last year I see Tyra O'Shea in one of the trial stakes, and we was actually trying to buy that dog about 6 months previously, and I looked at that and I thought, wow, that's got Derby winner written all over it, like, and I would have loved to have trained that last year. This year I can't say I'm that much involved in the Irish racing. You know what's coming over. Obviously Pat Buckley's coming over with a strong team, and he's had some good recent winners lately. All the other good Irish trainers will be over, Graham Holland, and they always have good dogs. I have a feeling the Star Sports Derby is going to stay British this year, and it'll be a British trained winner. There's nothing I would swap for Bruiser's Bullet and Black Farron, if I'm honest. Maybe in a couple of weeks' time I could come up with a different answer, but at the moment I wouldn't swap any of ours for anything that's in there.
Brilliant, thank you very much for talking to us, and good luck, Mark.
Thank you.